All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, September 20th, and this is a meeting to check in on active development tasks for Backdrop CMS. Normally we start with a bunch of stuff that's not related to Backdrop the project, but because we just had a Backdrop release last week, we're going to focus on what we did in the release. So I'm going to turn it over to Nate to talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we had a very exciting weekend. Saturday was the 15th of September, which means it was release day for us. And we put out two releases of Backdrop. We finished up the 1.10.2 release, which was the last release in the 1.10 minor branch. And that includes everything that's we had, all of the bug fixes that we had in that branch, well, for the last 2 months, basically. And we also simultaneously released 1.11, which was the new minor release, which includes a boatload of new functionality, including an image browser, rabbit hole-like functionality, improved color module, contact module improvements, and a lot of other really awesome features. You can read up more about the 1.11 release in our blog post, which you can get to from the homepage of backdropcms.org. So that's very exciting. Thank you to everybody that helped participate in the release itself, as well as all of the contributors over the last 4 months that have provided us lots of great new functionality. Also, for those that worked on functionality, didn't quite get it in, 1.12 isn't that far away, January 15th, 2019. And pretty much the things that got bumped from 1.11 are the things that are the priority for 1.12. So let's see. First of all, before we get into 1.12, let's talk about 1.11.1, which will be the first bug fix release for 1.11. First of all, the really awesome news is that it's been 5 days now. We've had people updating their sites, but the Backdrop issue queue has been completely silent on new problems with 1.11, which is fantastic. So that shows that we've had thus far, it looks as though we've got a really stable release in 1.11. Usually we release a bug fix release 2 weeks after the initial release to address any problems. But sometimes there aren't any. So we'll see how that happens. I know, I think it was last release, we didn't end up with a bug fix release after 2 weeks because we didn't have any substantial problems. And so we just decided after 2 weeks to push the Pantheon upstreams and everything like that after 2 weeks without a bug fix release at all, just because there wasn't any reason to make a bug fix release. So thus far, it's looking pretty good. Before we started this call, Jason had pointed out that there had been a bug report filed in the forum, which is kind of a combination of awesome and not awesome. It's totally awesome that the forum was used because people seem to find that accessible. Maybe they're not comfortable with GitHub or don't have a GitHub account. And so they filed a problem on the forum. And then there were some responses back and forth on that. And it looked like for the first reporter, at least, they had cleared their caches. And after doing cache clear, everything was fine. So that actually is kind of great that maybe.
Well, actually, I'm going to create an issue from that anyway, because he did run the database updates. And that's supposed to clear the cache. And I've also had some problems with calling Backdrop cache clear all in a module update function and having the cache not be cleared. So I think there might be some race condition there where the cache is cleared before the update is done sort of thing. So that might be worth looking into to try and figure out what that is. So I'm going to create an issue about that.
Okay. Yeah. If we could reproduce what the circumstances are or anything like that, then that would be good to do.
Okay. Well, I've got a bunch of updates coming up, so I'll be able to try and figure out what circumstances caused that to happen.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. But for the next bug fix release, Backdrop 1.11.1. That's 1.11.1. We usually make the first bug fix release after 2 weeks. The only item that we've got known that we want to tackle as soon as possible is that we have all this new ability and color module in 1.11, including basis is now colorizable, but we didn't include any predefined color schemes out of the box. And as a UX enhancement, we would like to improve or provide some color schemes out of the box and ship them with basis. And because this is a UX thing, we allow those in bug fix releases. So that's one thing that we would like to get in as soon as possible. But I mean, it's not a high priority thing. It's just something that would take one of our headline features and make it much more accessible to all of the users that are upgrading to 1.11. Let's see. Yeah, we also had a note in the form that there might be a problem with the color preview in Safari. That is yet to be confirmed, and we'll file a ticket for that if it turns out to be a reproducible problem. Let's see. So that's it for 1.11. We'll continue making bug fix releases, of course, as always, for the next 4 months. But let's talk about 1.12, which will be the next release coming out January 15th. So the first item on here is we have this meta issue for automatic/core updates in issue 2018. And first of all, let's talk about what happened in 1.11 in that we did enable the ability to do we included code that allows core to update itself through the user interface in 1.11. However, that functionality is hidden from the front-end display to end users unless you manually edit the config file to turn it on. And so it's not really a publicly advertised feature. It's just laying some groundwork to allow for us to provide core self-updates in 1.12. So in 1.12, we have a new issue that we created, 3271, to enable the user interface for core updates. And then we also have the same issues from before that we didn't get done in 1.11, which includes package signing, issue 1992, and then the actual automatic update part, which is, let's see here, 414. We also have a bit of an issue for removing or deprecating authorized.php, which is not widely used, not compatible with installer, and wouldn't work for automatic updates. So with all of those compounding issues, there's a general consensus that removing it is easier than maintaining it, essentially, and also more in line with the direction that we're heading. So that issue is got a pull request that has started to deprecate but not actually remove all of that functionality. And that looks like that's going to be a likely thing for 1.12. So that's all exciting. Automatic updates kind of moving along. I don't think that we've had anybody yet test like the whole complete package of the core updates via the user interface. Now that we have a release that is newer, it's much easier to test. But I guess we still actually have the caveat that 1.12 is the only version that has a release, and it won't be until 1.12.1 comes out that there's a newer version from which there's a previous version that has the ability to update core. So I guess we actually may need to wait just a little bit longer in order to test the whole ecosystem together. But at least the functionality is in there for the next release. When it comes out, we'll have the opportunity to test core self-updating. Let's see, other issues. Tags for modules is issue number 37. This didn't get revisited quite in time. And the objective of this issue is just to make it so that tags are possible to add to modules and other projects so that we can better categorize them both on the modules page and on backdropcms.org. Let's see, this came up at the very tail end of the release. Actually, I guess we've seen it a while back, but now the pull request is looking really good, and that is issue 1005, which adds the options element into core. It also adds the functionality for having options element work on all of the fields that are in core. So anytime you create a select list in core, it adds a new widget for inputting the select list options. It looks really pretty awesome, really. There's also some styling updates that make it look more backdroppy, kind of modernizing it just a little bit and having it line up with the new 7 theme and backdrop. So that issue is well worth looking at. It currently needs work. There's just a little bit more integration that could be done to make it act as though it's a part of core rather than something tacked on top of core. But it looks really good. Let's see. Also in the category of substantial functionality coming over from the Drupal 7 world, field level file types is issue 2632. And this issue is also in really great shape, but needs some UX work to kind of tidy it up a little bit. Again, from like what we had in Drupal 7 was functional, but not exactly straightforward. And we inherited those same problems in the port. So we would like to just tidy things up. Maybe it's as simple as adding more description text and changing some terminology in places. But that also looks like it's in really great shape. That allows us to have different file types, like video versus image, for example, and also to add additional fields onto those different types of files. So it's a very nice collection of functionality. Still needs a little bit of work, but it is in great shape for, having an entire release to get it completed. I think that it's got a real great shot at 1.12. We don't have any other things yet prioritized for 1.12 other than those items, which were all bumped basically from 1.11. Although if you're looking to push for a particular initiative, like now is the time to, get out there and say, hey, I've got this great idea for the next version of Backdrop, and we'll look at it and give it some consideration to give it priority for the next release. That's it. There's the 1.12.0 issue tracker or milestone on GitHub, where you can keep track of all of the things that we're shooting for 1.12, which include a lot of bumped items. But I think that's it for the core project update. Back to you, Jen.
I lost my Safari. Found it again, though. Whew. Too many browsers open. Thanks for running through all of the updates, Nate. That's great. Let's see. So next up, we have Backdrop for Good. I'm not sure if there's any particular updates for that. Here in the document, it says you can check out the issue queue if you'd like to participate. Anything else there, Jeff?
Yeah, Laren did a bunch of stuff, and he's looking for ideas about how to correlate business nodes with business Civi CRM entities.
Ooh.
But there's been some progress, and that the one I just mentioned is a fairly difficult problem, but it's more about what path do we take. So if anybody has any ideas there, and Laren threw out some ideas in that issue, if anyone wants to take a look and make some recommendations.
Okay, sounds great. That's it for our official agenda. Is there anything else we should talk about in the open Q&A section? Okay, well, we just had a meeting in the last hour about community outreach, and Tim was there and he had a fantastic recommendation I want to drop here, which is that for the next backdrop release, which is January 15th, he recommended that we try and coordinate at least 5 happy birthday backdrop parties just after the release where we can help spread awareness about backdrop, have a little kind of celebration. It'll be Backdrop's 4th birthday. January 15th is also Drupal's birthday. So if you're interested in doing a Backdrop Drupal thing together, that could be an option. But we thought it would be really fun to do 5 distinct locations, just a little party, like 5 people or something, where we can celebrate everything we've done. And if you can bring new people and show them what Backdrop has done, that's even better. So I just wanted to drop the idea here. We are going to post something in the forum. We're going to try and put events up on the events page for Backdrop CMS. But if anybody has a space or a restaurant or bar nearby where you think you might want to host something like that, it might be a good way to kind of help build a little community for Backdrop. So just want to mention that now. Anything else anyone wants to share? No? This is a nice short meeting this week, guys. All right, well, if nothing else, then we will wrap this meeting. We can all go back to frantically upgrading our Backdrop sites, and we will meet again at 1 p.m. next Thursday.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.